The story of Yusuf, our 11th prophet. Yusuf, otherwise known as Joseph, was a son of Prophet Jacob, otherwise known as Prophet Jacob. Prophet Jacob also had 11 other sons. The youngest brother was Benjamin, otherwise known as Benjamin, who was born from the same mother as Yusuf. The other brothers were elder half-brothers. When Yusuf was still very young, he woke up one morning. He had an amazing dream. In his excitement, he ran to his father, Prophet Jacob, to share his dream with him. Yusuf said, "Oh, my father, indeed I have seen 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me." Upon hearing this, Prophet Jacob was very happy, realizing that his son had been chosen for prophethood by Allah. Prophet Jacob told Yusuf to make sure he did not share his dream with his brothers. Although Prophet Jacob treated all his sons equally, they were jealous of him. One day, the elder brothers' envy of Yusuf built up so much that they decided on a plan to get rid of him. The brothers spoke with their father, suggesting they take Yusuf for an outing with them. Their father was reluctant, but the brothers insisted that it was a good idea. So their father finally agreed. So Yusuf and his brothers set off on their trip, travelling far away from home. The brothers finally came to a well. They grabbed Yusuf, removed his shirt and threw him into the well. They then left, taking Yusuf's shirt with him, and returned back home to their father. Upon reaching their father, they cried to him, "Oh, our father, indeed we went racing with each other and left Yusuf with our possessions, and a wolf ate him." Prophet Jacob, on hearing this, was suspicious. The brothers had smeared goat's blood on Yusuf's shirt and shown their father, but the shirt was not damaged. Prophet Jacob showed much control and patience of hearing this news and prayed to Allah for Yusuf's safe return. Back at the well, Yusuf was stranded. He prayed to Allah to be saved. Eventually, a passing caravan heading towards a town in Egypt came to the well to get water supplies. Upon their amazement, they found Yusuf stuck down the well. They quickly raised him up and inspected him. They decided he was a handsome boy, so they would take him to Egypt to be sold as a slave. When they arrived, they sold him to the highest bidder, to a man by the name of Al-Aziz, who was a wealthy man and a treasurer. Al-Aziz was now Yusuf's master. He had no children of his own, so he told his wife that they would take good care of him, keeping him as either a slave or a son. Yusuf lived with them in their home. As he grew older, Yusuf developed into a handsome young man. Allah had blessed him with great knowledge and wisdom. Yusuf, due to his good manners and character, was placed in charge of the household. The wife of Al-Aziz was named Zuleika. She had become obsessed with Yusuf and she had much desire for him. One day her desire for Yusuf overcome her. When her husband was away, she invited Yusuf to her. Yusuf feared Allah and replied to Zuleika, "I seek refuge in Allah. Indeed, he is my master, who has made good my residence. Indeed, wrongdoers will not succeed." Yusuf turned his back and ran towards the closed door to escape. Zuleika chased Yusuf, grabbing his shirt from the back and ripping it. The door suddenly opened and Al-Aziz entered. Zuleika quickly ran to him and cried, "What is the recompense of the one who intended evil for your wife, but that he may be imprisoned or a painful punishment?" Yusuf, now very distressed by the allegation, denied the claim, saying it was she who sought to seduce me. Al-Aziz, in all his confusion of the matter, then spoke with his cousin asking for advice. The cousin advised, "If his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth and he is of the liars." Yusuf's innocence was proven. Al-Aziz apologized to Yusuf for the indecent behavior of his wife and asked Yusuf to swear to secrecy of these events, which he agreed. Regardless of the sworn secrecy, other women heard of Zuleika's pursuit of Yusuf. Zuleika was ridiculed for her behaviour, which made her very angry and annoyed. As a result of this, Zuleika made a plan to prove to the women why she had been so taken with her desires for Yusuf. She invited all the women to her household for refreshments. So the women sat and chatted with each other, enjoying fruits and cutting them with knives. Zuleika then summoned Yusuf to the room which they were sitting. When Yusuf entered the room, every woman there was taken back at how handsome Yusuf was, and in their distraction they even ended up cutting their own hands with the knives they were using. They all stared at Yusuf in awe. Zuleika then used that moment, announcing to the women that this was a man for who she was blamed. She gave Yusuf a warning, explaining that if he was to deny her again, she would make sure he would be imprisoned. Yusuf responded in front of everyone by saying, "My lord, prison is more to my liking than to which they invite me." Zuleika then spoke with Al-Aziz and had convinced him that to restore her honour, he must be seen to ensure Yusuf was imprisoned for his conduct. Sadly, Yusuf was then taken away and imprisoned for the allegations made against him. During the period of Yusuf being imprisoned, Allah gave him the ability to interpret dreams. Two of the inmates came to Yusuf for him to interpret their dreams that they had had. The first dream was that one of them was serving the king wine. The second dream was one of them was carrying bread on his head and two birds were eating the bread. Yusuf interpreted the dreams as follows: "O two companions of prison, as for one of you, he would give drink to his master of wine, but as for the other, he would be crucified and the birds would eat from his head. The matter has been decreed about which you both inquire." Yusuf said to the one he knew would go free, "Mention me before your master." But Shaitan made the inmate forget to mention Yusuf to his master. Yusuf remained in prison for several more years. Then a day came when the king of Egypt had a dream that was quite odd. He summoned his men and said, "Indeed, I have seen 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 that were lean, and 7 spikes of grain, and others that were dry. O eminent ones, explain to me my vision, if you should interpret visions." The former inmate of Yusuf, now a cupbearer for the king, remembered Yusuf. He informed the king of Yusuf and his amazing ability to interpret dreams. The king then sent the cupbearer to seek Yusuf in prison and ask him about the king's dream. Yusuf was pleased to see his old inmate and knew that this was the plan of Allah. Yusuf then interpreted the dream as follows: "You will plant for 7 years consecutively, and what you harvest leave in its spikes, except a little from which you will eat. Then will come after that several difficult years, which will consume what you advance for them, except a little from which you will store. Then will come after that a year in which the people will be given rain, and in which they will press olives and grapes." When the king heard the interpretation of his dream, he sent for Yusuf to be called before him. Yusuf refused to leave prison until his innocence of his prior allegation was cleared. Therefore the king summoned the women who had cut their own hands the night of Zuleika's gathering. The women attested to the innocence of Yusuf before the king, saying, "Allah forbid, we know about him no evil." The wife of Al-Aziz, Zuleika, had no option now, so she confessed to the king by saying, "Now the truth has become evident. It was I who sought to seduce him, and indeed he is truthful." So Yusuf's innocence was proven, and he was released from prison. When Yusuf stood before the king, he thanked him. The king was fond of Yusuf's personality and liked his honesty and good character. So the king decided to appoint Yusuf as his storekeeper, responsible for the harvests across the land. Just like the dream, Yusuf ensured that during the 7 years of fertility, he harvested and stored crops in preparation for the famine that was to come. The famine spread far across the land, reaching the home of Prophet Yaqub. Prophet Yaqub sent all his sons, except the youngest, Binyamin, to the kingdom of Egypt, to buy the family some provisions. Upon Yusuf seeing all his brothers again, he recognized them, but he kept his identity a secret. Yusuf spoke with the brothers, inquiring about their family. The brothers shared with Yusuf news of their father back home and of their youngest brother. Yusuf made clear to them that if they wanted further provisions, that they must bring their youngest brother next time they came, or he would no longer provide supplies to them. In addition, Yusuf discreetly placed the money the brothers had paid within their supplies as a further incentive to return. The brothers then left to head back home. When they returned home with the supplies, they shared with their father the agreement they had made in order to get further supplies. They said, "Oh, our father, measure has been denied to us, so send with us our brother, that we will be given measure, and indeed we will be his guardians." Prophet Yaqub remembered how they had failed him before with Yusuf, so he declined their request. Over time, their supplies dwindled to the point where Prophet Yaqub had no other choice but to send Binyamin with his brothers to purchase further supplies. The brothers left, giving their oath to their father to ensure the youngest son's protection. When they arrived back in Egypt, Yusuf took Binyamin aside, revealing his identity. He whispered to him, "Indeed, I am your brother, so do not despair over what they used to do to me." Yusuf provided the provision for the brothers, filling up their bags with grain. Yusuf then planted the king's golden bowl in Benjamin's bag. When the brothers departed, they were confronted by the king's soldiers. They were looking for the missing king's bowl. Their bags were searched and the bowl was found in the bag of the youngest brother, Binyamin. The brothers were in shock and remembered the oath that they had made to their father back home. The soldiers seized Binyamin and the brothers begged for his release. They insisted that the soldiers took one of them instead, but the king's soldiers refused their request. The eldest brother said, "I will never leave this land until my father permits me or Allah decides for me." So with that, the rest of the brothers left. When the brothers returned to their father and informed him of the events, Prophet Yaqub wept uncontrollably until he became blind. He prayed to Allah for comfort and to ease his pain that he was feeling. Prophet Yaqub instructed his sons to return to Egypt and plead for their brother's return. So again the brothers left their father and made their way back. They shared the news of their poor father to Yusuf. Yusuf then spoke to them and said, "Do you know what you did with Yusuf when you were ignorant?" The brothers became scared, realizing that the storekeeper was in fact their own brother, who they had abandoned in the well years ago. Yusuf reassured them by saying, "No reproach on you this day, may Allah forgive you. Take this, my shirt, and cast it over the face of my father. His eyesight will return." So the brothers returned to their father, and as instructed, cast the shirt of Yusuf over their father's face. Allah then miraculously restored their father's eyesight. The brothers, now completely exposed, begged their father to seek Allah's forgiveness of them. Prophet Yaqub and his sons all set off to meet Yusuf together. Yusuf, upon seeing his family, welcomed them all. He then raised his father upon a throne and said, "O my father, this is the explanation of my vision of before. My Lord has made it reality, and he was certainly good to me when he took me out of prison and brought you here from Bedouin life, after Shaitan had induced estrangement between me and my brothers. Indeed, my Lord is subtle in what he wills. Indeed, it is he who is knowing, the wise." By the grace of Allah, father and son were reunited once more.